Hey, welcome back. Tonight we're going to do a chicken parmesan, and Maggie loves chicken parmesan, and it is pretty simple. What I've got here is just some chicken breast. I've actually marinated these in a couple of eggs, beaten eggs, a bit of salt, pepper, some garlic, and just to sit there, just for a couple of, in fact that's been half an hour, just marinating there. And look, there's a couple of ways you could do it. You could have done it just dipped into flour and then egg and then into the breadcrumbs, but I've decided to marinate it in the egg, dip it in these breadcrumbs. So I've got breadcrumbs there, panko breadcrumbs, just with some coriander. I'll put a bit of salt in there as well. Now, we may end up using a double batch of the breadcrumbs, but also what I want to add there is just some really lightly shaved, what do you call that stuff? Parmesan. But that's not why we call it chicken parmesan. So just a little bit there. And what we're going to do as well, we've got a few things. I've got some broccolini, which I'm not sure what happened to our skillets, so I'll just show you now because I can leave those in there. I'm just going to put those in. They've been pre-cooked, so just a couple of minutes in the microwave to soften them up. And what we're going to do is just spread them out there, make sure there's enough room for it. And just with a bit of canola spray, because you kind of want it to go a little bit burnt, but also just get that kind of colouring, let that sit for a while, give it a little bit of a push down, let that sit. I've got chips as well, they're frozen. I'm going to put those in the air fryer, but what I'm just going to quickly show you here is the process by which I'm going to pick these up and put them literally one by one into the breadcrumbs, just coating them as much as possible. You could use your hands, clean hands, or see whatever easier. Just kind of give it a bit of a push down. Now what actually happens here, we double cook the chicken, okay? So by marinating that with the egg, it's going to kind of block it a little bit so it doesn't dry out so much, so it gives it a little coating. And then we're going to be frying it. I've got canola oil ready. I've got the oven on as well, because with the double cook process is getting the chicken with a bit of cheese and a bit of that parma sauce, bit of mozzarella and that parma sauce, and then putting in the oven for a quick blast it as hot as possible, just to melt that cheese on it. Okay, so what we can see there, just literally coating it as much as possible with that egg, holding the breadcrumbs there. Same process for all four, or how many of you want to do. Now, sometimes you'll go to a pub or a bar and the parmesan is really big, like plate size. These are pretty normal size. I guess what you want to make sure is, particularly if they're too big, they're going to take a lot longer to cook, and it does toughen up. So if they're a large chicken breast, you might want to cut them in half and give them a little bit smaller and allow that crispiness of the breadcrumbs to kind of shine through. That's what we're really looking for. And that means a quick cook in a hot pan, okay? So quick cook, lighten it up. Now what I've also got there is, you'll see I've set this up already, just a drainage tray for once you take them out of the oil, that's going to be pretty hot now. Once you take them out of the oil, put them in, because you want to drain a lot of that oil out, which is going to create that crispiness, and then we're going to transfer that into that other tray there and give it a quick kind of boost in the oven. So that's just about there, getting as much of that on, as I said, really getting into those nooks and crannies, thank you. Just showing what that looks like there. Sorry if we've got a little excess on the side there. And the last one, there's a little small one in there as well. It could be for Maggie, I haven't decided yet. Depends on her behaviour. This stage is looking pretty unlikely. Well, she's not even there, so I can talk about it. Okay, so as last thing, mixing that in. As I said, I've got salt and a garlic in there with some coriander and those breadcrumbs. Now you could also put an onion powder in there as well, or a garlic powder. You could put some other sort of bolognese herbs, whatever you do. It will give it that a little extra flavour, because that's what we're looking here, because you don't want a parmigiana that's kind of flavourless, if that makes sense. And you also don't want a parmigiana where the chicken is overcooked. So I'm just going to quickly, just the last couple of bits in there, just really giving that a good squeeze through. I'll get you to come around that side just so I'm out of the way. So these will take a few minutes each side. I like to kind of be very careful with this because it will spit, as you can hear. Now you only probably need about 1 centimetre of oil, just enough to kind of halfway through. You don't need to overdo it. You don't want to deep fry the Parmigiana, you just want to give it that heat to fry off. And remember what I've said previously with some of this, in that the minute you put more things in there, the more loaded that is. I probably could have done 2 at a time there. The heat's going to take it away. So let's just cover that up. I'm going to come back when that's done a little bit better and show you, and we'll flip it over. We'll see that. Okay, so I've just given that one flip over. You can see that's really browning off there. Lovely. They were reasonably thick breasts, so it might take a little bit longer. So I'm just going to let that heat. Remember, I'm going to take them from there, put them on that drying rack. Bring that a bit closer, making sure it's not too close to burn there. Oven's on at 250 as well. So once we've done that, I'm then going to eventually transfer the chicken breast into there, and then to kind of do that bolognese sauce on top with then mozzarella to drizzle over the top in the oven around a kind of a 10 or so minutes until you get that really cheesy movement. Okay, that's, oh look at that. Yeah, perfect. A little bit of that brown. I just put a little bit of salt on. There's canola spray on that already. That's not going to overcook, it's not going to burn too much, so I'm happy just to close it off. Now, just if you pop around here, let's have a quick look at that. Taking that lid off because it does spit. Give it a little bit longer because remember we're going to put it in the oven as well. But that's coming along really nicely. Look at that. I reckon I could serve that up at your local pub. That is really good. So let's give that a couple of minutes and then we're going to transfer and then plate into that hot oven. That's ready to go. That makes the Parmesan. So we've allowed that just to kind of, see, you can see the oil that's dripped out from underneath there. And just carefully placing these, they feel about cooked already, so that's fine. Just carefully placing them on a bit of grease-proof paper there, just to help it make it cleaning up a bit easier. Still not sure who's getting that yet, it's debatable. Now, just with a sort of a Parmigiana sauce or a bolognese sauce, what you just want to do is just load it on there. Right? And it doesn't matter if it goes over the edge. Kind of gives it a bit of that authenticity if it does. It allows you to have a bit of that extra when you're serving up. So remember, I've got the oven on, not sure about that one. I've got the oven on 250, and you really want to blast it. Some beautiful mozzarella. You really want to blast it in that oven just to get that cheese really melted. Not sure about that one. Not one for waste, so let's just go the whole bit. And I've just got, again, another bit of coriander. You don't have to, just to kind of mix it in. Give it a little pat down. Right, and that's it. And so I'm going to whack that in the oven for about 10 or so minutes. Right up the top, up the back, hottest part of the oven. Watch your hands, put it in there, and we'll show you when that comes out.